All right, everyone, buckle up because today's deep dive is all about something we could talk about forever:
Oh, I know it.
love and relationships.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we have Logan Erie's How to Not Die Alone to unpack. And just to be clear,
Okay.
this isn't about like stocking up on frozen dinners.
Right.
Although, I mean, sometimes a person's got to eat, right?
Hey, no judgment here.
But we are talking about ditching those dating apps, or maybe not ditching them, but at least using them better
Yes.
and just approaching this whole finding love thing with a lot more intention.
Absolute.
And to help us out with all the behavioral science that Uri throws our way, because she goes deep, I've got our expert here.
So happy to be here, ready to dive into the fascinating world of human connection.
I love it. You ready to find love out there? I mean, are you ready to help people find love out there?
Always.
Okay, good, good. So you're ready to trade those late night swipe sessions for something hopefully a lot more fulfilling?
It's a good goal.
Yeah, and this book really helps you understand why you make the choices you do when it comes to relationships.
Yes, and it's fascinating how much of what trips us up in love is really our own psychology.
Oh, for sure.
These ingrained beliefs and patterns that we might not even realize are shaping our experiences.
Yeah, it's like we're working from this outdated script.
It really is.
And Erie calls these like our dating tendencies.
Okay,
And the first one she talks about is the romanticizer.
okay,
And we can laugh about fairy tales now we're all adults here.
hopefully.
But it turns out those stories can really mess with our expectations
Big time.
when it comes to love.
And not just Disney. Think romantic comedies, even some pop songs.
Oh, yeah.
They all paint this picture of love that sets the bar kind of impossibly high.
Yeah, you're just like, where's my prince?
Right, exactly. You're waiting for grand gestures, whirlwind romances, and if it's not happening, you assume something's wrong.
So you're basically looking for that fairy tale ending instead of like enjoying the actual journey, which can be kind of messy, let's be honest.
And wonderful.
And wonderful. Yeah, real.
It's about the realness.
Yeah.
And this isn't just some made-up idea. Psychologist Renee Franiuk
Mm-hmm.
did research that shows people who are really into finding their soulmate
Okay.
are actually less satisfied in their relationships.
Really?
Because they're so busy looking for that one perfect person, they completely miss what's right in front of them.
Wow. So how do we ditch the fairy tale and kind of rewrite it to be more, well, more realistic?
It's about understanding that relationships are built. They're not magically found.
Okay.
You choose someone who shares your values, challenges you, someone you actually want to build a life with, roses or no roses.
Yeah, ditch the checklist and focus on what really matters. Like,
Exactly.
can you have a real conversation with them? Can you laugh together?
Totally. The good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that brings us to another big one, the hesitator.
Ooh, yes.
And this one, a lot of people can relate to.
Oh, I've been there. Once I do this one thing, I'll be ready to date.
Right. It's so common.
Yeah, once I finally organize my sock drawer.
The sock drawer is never going to be perfectly organized.
Ever. But really, there's no perfect time, is there?
There really isn't. Now, self-improvement is great,
Oh, yeah.
but the hesitator uses it as a shield, a way to avoid putting themselves out there.
It's safer that way, right?
Exactly. They're afraid of rejection, or maybe they don't think they're good enough yet.
So how do we break out of that? If we find ourselves in that cycle, how do we, like, I don't know, what's the opposite of hesitate?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Well, easier said than done, right?
Right.
But it really comes down to this.
Yeah.
Are you saying no to dates because you genuinely need more time,
Okay.
or are you scared?
That's deep.
And if it's fear, remember, you are worthy of love right now, exactly as you are. Don't let those thoughts keep you on the sidelines.
I love that. It's like that saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Is there ever a point where waiting too long starts to actually work against you?
Well, that's where we get into opportunity costs.
Oh.
It's like this. Every time you choose not to date,
Yeah,
you're potentially missing out on meeting someone amazing.
that's a good point.
Imagine saying no to a job interview because your resume isn't perfect yet.
Ouch. Yeah, no, that's a good point. You wouldn't do that with your career.
Exactly.
You got to put yourself out there.
You do. And while it's good to grow as a person, don't let that stop you from experiencing joy in connection now.
Very true. All right, let's talk about how we actually go about making those connections, especially now when it seems like everyone's meeting online. I have such a love-hate relationship with dating apps.
Oh, tell me about it. It's a whole thing, isn't it?
It is.
On one hand, it's so easy to connect with people.
So many options.
Right. A world of possibilities.
A whole world.
But all those options, that comes with its own challenges.
It's like You're at the grocery store staring at a million cereal boxes and you just shut down.
The overwhelm is real.
It is, and then you just end up with the same boring cereal you always get. So how do we not do that with dating apps? How do we actually use them right?
It's called the paradox of choice. Too many options can actually make us less satisfied
No way, really.
because you're constantly comparing, evaluating, wondering if there's someone better just to swipe away.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It's exhausting, and you forget what you actually want in the first place.
It really is.
So how do we not get lost in the sea of faces? How do we make online dating actually work for us?
Yeah, right, instead of against us.
Be mindful. Be intentional. The app is a tool, not a magic solution.
Right.
It's like browsing for a new book.
Yeah.
Right. You're not just going to pick something based on the cover.
Oh, no, for sure.
Read the synopsis, maybe check some reviews before you even think about buying.
So treat those profiles like mini book jackets.
Yes.
Don't just swipe for a cute photo, actually read what they say.
Absolutely. Look for clues. Do you connect on other levels? Shared interest.
Yeah.
Remember, you're trying to find someone you connect with who challenges you,
Okay.
who you can actually see yourself building a life with.
Right, ditch the checklist and actually think, could I have a conversation with this person?
It's about connection.
Yeah.
And speaking of conversations, Yuri's big on this. Move things offline as soon as you can.
Yes, get out of the app and into the real world, but how do you know when you're ready for that?
This is where I think the phone date idea is genius.
Oh, a phone date, like an actual phone call. Is that still a thing?
I know, right? Sounds so retro.
It does.
But listen, a quick phone call can save you so much time and energy.
I guess so.
It's low pressure, you get to actually hear their voice,
Oh, true.
and you get a feel for if there's even a spark before you commit to meeting up.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like a little screening process.
Exactly.
So you don't waste your time if there's no connection there.
And your in-person dates. Way more meaningful when you've already gotten past that initial awkwardness.
Okay, that's a really good point. So let's say you've, gone on a few dates, you're feeling a connection. How do you know if it's the real deal? Or if it's, just a fling?
Ah, the age-old question. And this is where those decision points come into play.
Okay, remind me about decision points. Those are like those little check-in points along the way.
Exactly. You pause, you reflect, and you get real with yourself about the relationship.
So what kind of questions should I be asking myself?
First of all, your gut. How do you really feel about this person?
Okay.
Do they make you excited? Do you feel energized? Or are you making excuses for them?
Ooh, yeah, those are good questions to ask yourself.
Are you ignoring red flags? Do you feel drained after spending time with them?
Okay, so basically, are you happy?
Pay attention to those gut feelings. They're telling you something.
Okay, so trust your instincts.
Trust those instincts.
Don't ignore those feelings.
Don't ignore them just because you think you should feel a certain way.
Right. Or because you're afraid of being single.
And here's the thing. It's okay to change your mind.
What do you mean?
Just because you felt something on a first date doesn't mean you have to force it if things change.
Oh, yeah, okay, I get it.
It's allowed.
You're allowed to break up with someone. Okay, so we've been dating for a while, things are good, but maybe there are some things that, aren't so great. What's the best way to bring up those issues?
Communication is key. And remember, it's not just about talking. It's about listening to.
It's about actually hearing what the other person is saying.
Exactly. So pick a time and place where you can both talk openly and honestly.
Okay.
No distractions. And you want to go into it wanting to understand, not to blame.
Okay, so maybe don't, launch into a laundry list of complaints 5 minutes after they walk in the door.
Maybe not the best approach.
Uh,
Instead of saying, you always do this, try, I feel this way when,
oh, that's interesting.
for example, I feel hurt when you're always late because it makes me feel like my time isn't important.
Ooh, okay, so it's more about your feelings.
Own your feelings.
Okay.
And when your partner is talking, really listen to what they're saying. Try to see it from their side, even if you don't agree with it.
Because sometimes just feeling heard can make a big difference.
Huge. It builds trust. It builds respect. Those are the foundations of a healthy relationship.
Totally. But speaking of relationships, sometimes they just don't work out. It's true. And as hard as we try, sometimes we just have to walk away.
Sometimes that's the bravest thing you can do for yourself and for the other person.
Yeah.
And industry talks about how breakups can bring up all those same fears that kept us single in the first place.
Oh, totally.
That fear of being alone, the worry that you'll never find someone who really gets you.
It's like you're back to square one, but you're also heartbroken this time.
Exactly. So it's even more important to approach healing with the same intention you bring to dating.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do you mend a broken heart and come back stronger?
First of all, let yourself feel it all. Be sad, be angry, it's okay.
Don't bottle it up.
Don't bottle it up. You got to feel it to heal it. But you shift your focus to the future. That's where Yuri's post-breakup plan is so helpful.
A post-breakup plan. Tell me more.
Okay, so it's different for everyone, obviously,
Sure.
but it's about creating a plan that supports you emotionally, physically, mentally.
So, like what? Going to the gym and finally cleaning my apartment?
That works.
Uh.
But also reconnect with friends. Pick up that hobby you've been putting off.
Ooh, like pottery. I've always wanted to try pottery.
Do it. Or travel. Book that trip you've been dreaming of.
Yes. Remind yourself that you are whole and complete all on your own.
Exactly. Now, this next part might seem counterintuitive,
Okay.
but Yuri suggests using this time to really think about what went wrong in the relationship.
Wait, so I should be analyzing everything. Isn't that, like, bad for you?
Not about dwelling on the past, it's about learning from it.
Okay, that makes sense.
What were your deal breakers? Where did your values clash? What have you learned that you absolutely will not compromise on in your next relationship?
So basically, you're figuring out what you don't want.
You got it. It's like creating a roadmap for your future relationships based on what you've learned.
Okay, I like that. So much better than repeating the same mistakes.
The worst.
Yeah.
So you've done the work, you've healed, you've learned. How do you know when you're ready to date again?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Ask yourself this. Am I looking for someone to fill a void? Or am I content on my own, ready to share my life with someone?
It's about coming from a place of wholeness, not neediness.
Exactly. And when you're there, you'll approach dating with confidence, self-awareness,
Oh,
and that's way more attractive anyway.
so true. Okay, for those who are thinking long-term, maybe even marriage, what about that?
Yuri has a whole section on that, navigating those big, should we get married questions.
I bet that's a tough one.
He's not about pressure, it's about helping couples make a real, intentional decision.
Not just going with the flow.
Exactly. She wants couples to talk about their expectations for marriage, their goals, even potential deal breakers.
So you're not blindsided 5 years down the road.
Exactly. And she has this great tool, the relationship contract.
Hold on, a contract for your relationship?
I know, it sounds intense, but it's not legally binding or anything.
Okay, good.
It's more like a collaborative roadmap for your future together. You get all the big questions out in the open. Finances, career aspirations, how you'll divide chores.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be arguing about who does the dishes 10 years later.
Exactly. And it's a living document. You revisit it, revise it as your relationship grows and changes.
So it's not about happily ever after. It's about choosing each other every day.
Yes. And it reminds me of something really powerful that Yuri said. Lasting love isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about becoming the right person for your partner.
Oh, wow. I love that. So good. It's about growing together.
Exactly. And approaching your relationship with intention,
Hmm.
with curiosity, and with a commitment to personal growth.
Because the best relationships, they challenge you to be a better version of yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into how to not die alone, I'm realizing how much of this advice applies to all our relationships, not just romantic ones.
100%. Friendships, family, even work relationships, communication, empathy, intentionality. These are universal principles.
So to everyone listening, whether you're single, dating, married, or somewhere in between,
Or maybe you just really like hearing us talk about relationships.
hey, we love to have you. Whatever your situation, we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Some tools for your toolbox.
And maybe even a little bit of hope.
Because at the end of the day, we all deserve to experience love and connection.
Beautifully said. And on that note, until next time, keep those conversations flowing, keep your hearts open, and keep putting yourselves out there.
We'll be here to cheer you on.